I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf again, and you know what that means? It's time for another bookish video. And this is part 2 in my series, Reading Like My Favorite Book Influencers. If you haven't checked out part 1, I've read like Haley Pham for an entire week. And today we have the one and only, the legend, the librarian of the World Wide Web, James Edward. Now, I honestly don't know what gotten into me here and why I kept calling him James. I will stop. I promise. I am so sorry. I don't know how my brain works sometimes, but believe me, in future parts of the video, I will stop doing this. Just bear with me for another moment and we'll get through it together. James? Who's James? Now, James Edward, I think, has been the number one study YouTuber, study vlogger I've been following. I've followed him for ages, and I found him because I've been a fan of Ruby Granger for years, and they did this podcast together. Anybody else listen to The Wooden Spoon? Let me know. And from then on, I was sold. COVID hit. He started doing lots of reading videos, and I think he's the CEO of Reading Like Certain Celebrities for a Week. He's so funny, he's so smart. I love his book reviews, and I usually listen to basically anything he likes. And if you were looking around my book collection in my room, you will probably find a lot of books James Edward read as well. So obviously, I have to make a video where I read like James Edward for a week or a few days. Now, in Haley Pham's video, I've read 4 books. In this video, I'm going to read 3, and I picked them out of different videos. I also refer to a video he made a few years ago where he said like his all-time favorite books he accepts no criticism on, and basically just books he gave 5 stars. And I also tried to pick books I haven't read before because, like I said, I read a lot like him. Nonetheless, we're all people, we're all different, and there are books he's been ranked 5 stars I didn't love, or books he absolutely despised and I love, like The Cruel Prince. Why doesn't he like The Cruel Prince? I don't accept this review of The Cruel Prince. Of The Cruel Prince. That's the actual title, if you didn't know. Because I only have 3 books in this video that I'm going to read and give you a review on, I wanted to start talking about 2 books that I've read because Jack recommended them, and telling you about my opinions on them because they're really different. He ranked them both 5 stars, and one of the books, the one I'm going to start with, I think he mentioned in the video where he talked about books he accepts no criticism on. And I know this is a highly loved book, and it's Open Water by Caleb Zuma Nelson. And I can totally see why this is such a beloved book. However, I couldn't get myself into the narration style of this one. It has a really specific narration style. It's like it was impossible for me to get in. It's really short, and the prose of it is beautiful. It has a lot of meaning, you know, it has everything, every potential to be a 5 star, but this is one of the books that just didn't touch my heart, and again, I just couldn't get myself into. But that's also okay because we're all really different. Anyway, one book that Jack recommended in his book review of the year, so when he like reviews all the books he's read in the year of 2024, and I know this because I put this on my reading list this year, is this one. It's Madonna in a Fur Coat by Sabahattin Ali. And oh my god, this was so freaking good. I loved it so much. It's also really short, and this was again one of the moments where I was like, yes, this is why I trust him so much. So I'm really excited to see what else is in store, because usually it's never a miss but always a hit with Jack. So let's see, maybe we're in for like 3 books, all 5 stars reviews, and get ready for a lot of outfit changes and a lot of babbling from me and even more reading. The first book I'm going to be reading, and probably also finish in one go, is Claire Keegan's Foster. Jack has been recommending Small Things Like These by the same author before, and I've read it also in one go because the books are both quite short, and it was a 5 out of 5 read for me. Like, I still think about this book sometimes, so I think I'm in for a treat. I have really high expectations for this one as well. It's about a girl, as far as I think, it's about a girl in rural Ireland who goes to live with a foster family. This is as much as I think this is going to be about, but as you see, it's not really long. I think it's like nearly 80 pages, and I'm just really looking forward to just sit down and read through this, and then I will come back and tell you my thoughts. Maybe I'll take some time off and see how much I need to digest it, but you will see. Let's first get to reading. And I just finished Foster. This novella was a really quick read, and it just once again reminded me of why I trust the librarian of the internet so much with his book recommendations, because the prose, the language, the narration style of the books he rates 5 stars or in general recommends is always chef's kiss. It's top notch. And I didn't expect anything less of Claire Keegan. Now, this was a really short book, which I think makes it really difficult, or even more difficult, to really draw the reader in. Because if you have a book that's like, let's say 300, 500 pages, you have a lot more time to build the world and build the characters and to, you know, draw the reader in, but also, of course, it's harder to keep the reader entertained for longer. So finding, you know, kind of like the middle ground is really hard. And I just like to say this because creating a story on like 88 pages that, you know, sticks with you, I think that is the hardest part, because again, it was a super quick read. I just got outside, sat down, got a little pen underlining some things because I knew that there would be sentences I want to remember and I just want to appreciate a little bit more. But for me to give 5 stars to a book, it needs to have a certain amount of impact. And Small Things Like These did that, because it had like, it was just amazing. I don't want to spoiler the book, even though I know there's this film coming out, or it is already out, what am I saying, and probably people know what is happening, but just in case you haven't read it, I don't want to give anything away, because that was what made the reading experience so good to me, and it just, for some reason, just really hit a spot in me that couldn't be repeated with another book. I don't know, I think we all come into the reading experience with our own background, and sometimes a book just hits harder, and Small Things Like These definitely hit harder for me. But Foster was an amazing experience. It was a really great experience, even just for the narration style, but also the story. It was really heartwarming. I really like the imagery that is used in Claire Keegan's language to draw a picture of Ireland. This one was beautiful, it was sad, and it was, even for such a literally short novella, it was really good and really well done. And I think I'll leave it at that. If I have any more thoughts coming up, I will put them on the screen. But I think this sets us up for a really good start, and I'm excited to see what I'll think of the other books I'll be reading. It's a sunny day today, and I finished reading The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. Now, I don't actually know why I never thought about picking up this modern day classic by myself, because it is really well known. I know there's a TV show out about it, people have been talking about this book, but I don't know, nothing really drew me to it. I also know that Margaret Atwood is a very well respected author, but I've also never read anything that's been written by her. I do believe, though, The Handmaid's Tale is her most famous book. Like I said, Jack Edward gave this a 5-star review, and I can totally see why. I mean, we have to keep in mind he's an English literature student, and I believe that all of the books he will recommend and give 5 stars to will be of some sort of social or political importance, and so is The Handmaid's Tale. It's a highly political and critical book. It's taking place in this dystopian future where the main character is a handmaid. So she's kind of like, her job is kind of to get pregnant and carry the child of wealthier couples that can't have children. And it's really triggering content, and it really makes you question certain things in society. So it's critical about society, but in that kind of sense that it's not dealing with our society, but with a dystopian society. So it kind of gives 1984 vibes, I would say. Not that it's like the same, but that's kind of the style of it. Now, like I said, it's really, really triggering. I think this is one of the books that is amazing to read in like a school or uni environment. Margaret Atwood is definitely a good storyteller. Like, I found myself wanting to underline certain sentences while I was reading the book. So that was amazing. At the same time, the story is really rough to read because it's so triggering and because it's highly political and you have to be paying attention all the time. Nonetheless, the way that Margaret Atwood is telling the story, it is in that sense easy to follow, that you want to keep reading and you don't actually have to do this job of like understanding every single sentence, because she is doing the job for you by having that nice narration style. So, from my review, I think you can tell that I'm a little bit biased about the book. It is definitely a good book, but not a 5-star read for me, simply because of the content and because it has such high triggering potential, that I was at a level where I was like, this is not nice to read, but it is an important piece of literature, as I will say. Definitely a good book recommendation. And like I said, if you read it in an academic context, you're basically good to go. Now, you will notice that nothing has changed. This is because I'm recording this in one go. I did not only finish The Handmaid's Tale, but also Homegoing. Homegoing? Yes, I was gonna think Homecoming. No, Homegoing by Jad Giassi. I also read another book by the author a few years ago, which I really liked, but I have to be honest with you, I don't remember what that book was about. I think it was a similar topic, and I actually have similar thoughts to Homegoing that I have to The Handmaid's Tale. This is a book that has so much history in it and is so important, and I think like should be read in school. I think this is a book you should read in school simply because it has so much potential for content to talk about, but at the same time it's super triggering. It's about two half sisters who don't know each other, and they are both born in like the 18th century, late 18th century, and they go on living different lives, and we follow each of the sisters' family tree down the line. So basically over generations of the family until they're joined again together, which is like such a like smart and beautiful way to narrate the story. So this is like a book about like a family or like two families who kind of stem from one and how they're going on, and it has contents of slavery in it, of colonization, racism. So a lot is and a lot more, a lot is going on. So like basically any kind of content warning trigger out there applies to this book, which now people might say critically, well, then you shouldn't read it in school. But I'm saying this because I would like to like read this in school or in a reading club because I want to like have the time and resources to like dive deep and maybe even have someone who like has more knowledge on the topic to talk more about it. Now, like I said, this is a really important and great book, but because it was so triggering, I was like kind of having to force myself to sit down. I read this in basically one go because once I got the hang of it, I could like go through it, but it's again not like a super fun read. When I was doing the Haley video, most of her books were like really enjoyable and fun little books, and it was just like you will fly through the pages. And like with Jack, it's really different. Like I said, they are really serious and topics he is dealing with, or the books are dealing with, which is great because you can basically learn so much about the world through these books. But at the same time, you need to take into account that reading such books, no matter how beautiful the language in them is a lot harder because you are confronted with things that are not beautiful, that are difficult, and that, you know, are about suffering. These things happened, like, not necessarily like in The Handmaid's Tale as they happened in that, but like the things in Josh Giassi's book did happen. And even though those are fictional characters in the book, those stories are all true. I had a whole year in high school where we dealt with the African American experience, and so much of that is kind of re-narrated in this book. So I kind of wish we read this when I was in school and dealt with this way, because this is a brilliant piece of literature, I would say. Nonetheless, like I said, I find when something is really triggering or like really hard to read, I don't necessarily always feel confident giving it 5 stars, because for me, reading experience also has to be enjoyable to a certain extent. So that is why I would both class kind of The Handmaid's Tale and Homegoing as something that is for me more into like an academic kind of reading or like a self-education kind of reading, and not like a fun kind of reading. I don't know if you are out there and you would say, oh, I read these kind of things for fun, I'm having a great time, but that's what I will say to this. Nonetheless, I'm super happy that I picked up all of the books I've read in this video, so great job, Jack. I would say I said it right this time, I didn't say James. Oh my god. Anyway, I did have some time to think of all of the books, but also to think about Foster again. And the book didn't leave my mind. Like, I couldn't get it out of my mind. And the more I reflected on it and the more I think about it, I want to take back what I said about small things like these for me had more significance, because Foster, I don't know what is in this book, but I couldn't stop thinking about the book. I kept thinking about it every single day and the story. Plus, I've checked on all the books I've read this year so far, and I looked up my top reviewed books. And for most of them, I was thinking, well, I liked Foster better. I did kind of like Foster better than these books. So I will change it. I will change my opinion and will say Foster definitely is a 5-star read. If there's one book you read out of this video, even though I feel bad because especially this one is literally so crucial, I would still recommend Foster because that reading experience was just so great. And I actually wish I could read it again for the first time because it was just amazing. Plus, it's really short. So really little effort goes into reading this, and it's so beautifully narrated, especially if you're someone who's like really in love with maybe Ireland or want to like what means learning more about Ireland, but if you like something is set in Ireland, that is perfect. So once again, I can just say Jack definitely didn't disappoint with his book reviews, with like his book recommendations. I'm so happy. If you like Jack Atwood as much as I do, comment down below what your favorite book recommendation from him is. And if you read any of the books I've read in this video, also let me know. Thank you so much for watching and have a lovely rest of your day.